Okay, thank you everyone. As you can see from the screen, we have a mystery guest joining us now because we don't have a name and a photo. There is a reason behind that, but this session we're going to be discussing culture shift and change management. And joining me to do that is Jan Otterbach even, and he's going to tell you more about himself and about the company he's representing here today as well. So thank you, Jan. Why don't you tell us who you are and what you do?
Perfect. So yeah, my name is Jan Otterbach. I'm representing Elavon Europe. We're a payments provider, one of the larger, more incumbent, been around for a while companies. And my job is that I'm business agility lead for Elavon Europe. And I'm actually, for the fact that that's my job title, a little bit sick of the term agile and agility, and we've had it thrown around a couple of times.
Yeah.
Today, I don't like it a whole lot because it mystifies something that's at the core actually very, very and painfully simple. So the best way to summarize my job, in my mind, is focus, customer, and collaboration. So what that means is that us as a company, I'm trying to get us to be a little more focused on a few things and get them done rather than trying to do it all. I'm working on us really thinking about and working with our customers first in the solutions that we produce. And collaboration sounds so obvious, but in large matrix organizations, and I'm sure there's lots of leaders around the room that live this reality every day, really working together actually isn't as easy as that seems superficially. So three very straightforward things that make for the core of what I do, but basically I'm doing all that through training, through coaching, and I've been doing this job now for about 2 years, and with Elavon 5 years. Before that, I've been a technology risk and governance person, and before that I've been a technology auditor and consultant with KPMG. So I've completely flipped what I've been doing about 2 years ago. I'm really, really enjoying the ride so far, but in all honesty, when I signed up to be business agility lead 2 years ago, I didn't really know what that meant.
Yeah, that's the agility part, right?
That's the agility part. But what I can say is in actually helping us get better behaviors, get more focused as an organization, it's probably been the most fun I've had in my entire career, and all the different other stuff that I've been doing before, it's kind of falling into place with it.
Okay, so we're here to talk about change management. So what are some of the biggest challenges that you faced in managing change in the fintech industry?
So I'm really proud to work for Elavon because we have so many great people, and we have great people with great brains that produce lots and lots of good ideas. In fact, they produce a few ideas too many. So the one single biggest challenge in change management in fintech, from where I'm standing, and it's kind of a luxury problem at the same time, is that we've too much. We've too much we want to do, too much we could do, and I mean, relatively broad in the services that we offer as an organization. We work with major airlines, we work with the flower shop next door in a couple of different countries, and just the sheer demand of all these, payments aren't what they used to be years or a decade ago. The payment almost needs to be integrated to the point that it disappears, and that comes with technology challenges, process challenges, and just the stuff that we feel we need to do is taking up a massive amount of our time. So we're constantly feeling like we're needing to catch up. But the very basic reality, and I think that's what most companies experience, is that there's one very simple truth. We're full. So there's not a single developer, not a single marketing person that isn't busy doing something good. It's just, how do we make that the best possible things we could do? We're all operating on finite resources, but we're basically already working on good ideas for years to come. How do we actually pace ourselves and keep choosing good ideas rather than trying to work through the huge backlog of stuff? Well,
like I say, that's probably a really nice problem to have, right? But I think what the essence of what you're saying is here, you're working on loads of great ideas, but it could be an even better idea that you're not working on because you just simply don't have the capacity because there's too many ideas.
It's that, plus what actually happens if you try to do too many things at once. So one very simple thing that I did a couple of weeks ago was sit down next to some of what I would consider some of our very best best colleagues that operate in change. And I made a very simple request to them. Can you open your calendar for me? And I was looking through their calendars just of an average week, and some of our best people are being pulled into more than a handful of projects at once. So the fact that you'd have 10 plus status meetings in there just to manage the work rather than do the work wasn't an uncommon thing. And the more projects, stuff you do at the same time, the slower you get, because you have all these meetings to manage the work. And the little bit of time that's left for you, you're now slicing into 5 different parts. So how do you get over that? It's stopping stuff and doing fewer things at once.
And is your calendar just as bad?
It's worse. Yeah.
Right.
So I do preach, because so one of the key things we've done as an organization is to set up teams that work in agile ways of working around our most key strategic changes. And I tend to follow those teams around to make sure that they maintain focus on what we're trying to achieve with them. Yeah. And that leads to my calendar being an absolute disaster. I'm one that tries to do too much at once all the time myself, but I can run around coaching that to people.
Of course you can, yeah, that's all part of your job as well. But really, it's finding that perfect balance, isn't it? It's finding the balance between fast-paced innovation, but also the potential risks of change as well. So you want to find the sweet spot of just doing enough, but not doing too much that it starts to become a problem.
Yes, and the way you phrase the question kind of implies that the way we're doing things needs more breaks. So it's actually kind of a different situation for us. So we're, as Elavon Europe, are the payments arm of a much bigger American bank called US Bank. So that's an organization with north of 70,000 people and all the big bank processes and structures that come with that. And we need to live in those risk processes and structures in the best way we can, in a big bank way, operating as innovatively as we can. So the challenge for us almost is not that we don't have enough breaks, enough process. It's how do we actually work with the big process and risk structures that we do have in a better way. And we've done that in a few different things. The most material difference actually is that rather to try to make big changes happen with big things and big approvals, is that we take smaller chunks and smaller changes to actually fall on our face in smaller ways potentially, which makes risk people happy. I mean, I'm an ex-risk person, an auditor, so I'm delighted with that too. But it's really about making those changes smaller. And the other thing that we've done, I mean, we've created these teams to work around our strategic changes. It's not like we let risk happen as a process. I mean, I think it was Bitpanda earlier on stage saying we asked 250 questions around every yes, that makes sense. We're almost up to the same number of questions that we ask for any bigger changes that we do, and there's good reason for this. But try and ask that 200 questions around a change, you're almost spending more time doing that than you actually do for the change. So the one thing that we've done is for those agile teams where we basically locked people in a room saying, this is your job, get these strategic changes done, is that we put a risk person in with them. Not all the time, but someone very closely aligned that knows exactly what's happening in the room around the strategic change, and that can actually anticipate any regulatory challenges, questions, and help navigate and translate change language into risk language. And that's a really clever thing we did. And especially with those big bang processes, one of the things that people tend to forget is that with these big risk management structures, there's actually a risk to not doing the things you need to do, not keeping up with the market, not actually being that slightly bit more aggressive in pushing those changes, and being conservative is holding you back to the point that it's hurting the business and actually producing a risk in revenue risks and liquidity risks for the business if it actually gets to that point. So staying relevant and managing risk at the same time is a challenge, but it's all about personal connection. That's really been the breakthrough for us. Yeah,
I was going to talk about that and talk about the culture within the organisation as well. How do you build a culture that is, embracing of change? How do you embed that into the organisation?
So I mean, for me, the last 2 years have been a realization of just how hard it actually is to change culture, or it actually is near impossible. But
I could tell that by the big sigh you gave just before you answered the question.
yes, sorry for not hiding my feelings there very well, but it's at the core about showing that it's possible. So we've taken out these strategic changes that we're working in new and innovative ways, we're getting stuff done, and we, for instance, had a big demo saying with very simple things that we realized. So for instance, one of the things we did as part of a digital project transformation, and it's almost embarrassingly simple, but we put basically buy now or apply now button squarely on our website, so you just need one click to get closer to your card machine. That was us listening to our customers doing something very, very simple. Took 2 days to do. Here I am a year later still talking about it, because it's those simple changes that really made the big difference. And what we did go out and is just show people that these things exist, they're possible, and listening to our customers really works. And we had an entire demo session around that. We invited everyone. We didn't really have an expectation, but hundreds of people turned up to listen to what the teams were actually physically doing. And rather than just having a status call around projects, we were showing them the real work outputs that we produced. So that was that. And the other big thing about culture for me is behaviors. So it's not really changing culture, it's more around changing specific behavior. So I was talking about focused customer and collaboration earlier. So focus means that it should almost be in everyone's brain that, oh, I need to stop myself from doing too many things at once, or I need to actually get to the point where I'm willing to say, no, not right now to something because we're full to the brim. For the customer, I was talking about the buy now button. So one of the very simple things that I did was actually try and buy a card machine of us online. And it's that kind of attitude and stance that just about everyone in the business should have to, have you tried this year to buy a card machine from us? Have you been our mystery shopper? And I mean, I've been telling the button story for a while. What it led me to realize this year was that I was being a bit of a hypocrite. Yes, I'd done that, but what I've done since is what I've called my customer safari. So I've been around 8 different departments that deal with customers at this point. I've listened to customer service calls, and I'd really challenge all the leaders in the room to just do the same, because there's nothing, or go out on a sales call, just be where your customers are. I mean, yes, you can have a mystery shopper writing you an interesting report and you can read it and you have the insights, but it's just not the same as experiencing your business really genuinely from the perspective of your customer. So that sounds painfully obvious. And then
it does sound painfully obvious, but are you saying that sort of like was not happening, or it needs to encouraging more?
It was happening, but only in pockets, only for some people. But it almost, in my mind, would need to be an ingrained behavior that people want to do that. So people tend to, especially if you're a specialist role, that's my job, and you're a cog in the large corporate machine, that's okay, you're a very good cog. But it's also about understanding what it's actually all about, because even if you're a specialist for something related to risk, everything you do, talk about, that you do as what you are, really impacts the customer, and just being humbled by the experience of just being there, experiencing that directly, that's huge. And yeah, last but not least, collaboration. So we've heard about Agile a couple times over today. What typically happens is that we get our development and technology teams working in Agile ways of working, which is super. Basically, Agile is nothing else than locking the right people in a room, saying, this is your job, you need to figure this out as a team, solve it. But if you only lock your technology team in a room, that makes only marginal sense, because really to get something out to the market and into the hands of our customers, it will take a marketing person, it will take a salesperson bringing this. So it's really about bringing everyone together and making them as a team responsible for the successful change, and not just for producing stuff. One of the bigger things we've done is started to measure actually what's the outcomes that we're producing. So it's not we've produced a new wonderful sales presentation, is how many extra sales actually have we made based on that wonderful new presentation and the new features that we've released. And it's getting collaboration going based around those results that's really made a difference for us.
So can you share some of those results? You don't need to give us the specific numbers here, but give us some example about the kind of improvements or efficiency gains that you're seeing.
Yeah, so one of the things that we've lots of partner organizations that we work with, and we were looking at creating a new portal for our partners as a multi-year project. But we connected a technology team with one of those business teams working in agile ways of working, actually locked them in the room and said, figure this out. The tech team worked away exactly understanding what was needed. The business team walked away understanding what was possible. And between that, we had an initial version of that partner portal up and running in 6 weeks, which then, and this is the exciting part, we got in front of a partner. And good thing we only spent 6 weeks on it, because they weren't quite as thrilled about it as we were, but they were at least telling us what we needed to do differently. And another 6 weeks later, we had something that was running. Another 6 weeks later than that, we could see, without too much encouragement, we could see the numbers growing of people that were logging into it and were using it in the ways that we had intended. And it's really about making those connections and enabling that makes these moments of magic possible, where people generally start talking to each other and collaborating.
Now, you seem really enthusiastic
Yes.
about this whole thing, about the whole change management thing. Does it surprise you how much enjoyment you get from this role? Yeah, you've taken an unusual career journey to get where you are, and the idea of constant change and living in a world of flux might put a lot of people off. And we've had a lot of change in the last few years across the world, but you're thriving on that change, right?
I'm having fun, but I don't know if you know these events, but do you know what a mud run is? So basically people basically getting out in the rain, running through mud, climbing over 10-foot walls, falling face down in the mud, and you just sit there thinking, why would anyone do this? This is just pain and suffering. What's the point? But that kind of, yes, I'm enthusiastic. Yes, I like this. If I look back, I can see the 10 obstacles we climbed and be very proud about that. But how this really feels to me at any given moment is that I'm at least knee-deep in the mud, all sorts of dirty, and it hurts. And that's what change really is. It's that journey, and it's not supposed to be easy, can't be easy, but that's where the results come from. And if you then actually take the moments like this, or won an award last year with some of the stories we were able to tell, if you actually turn around and see the 10 obstacles that you climbed, there's this sense of achievement and pride that's in it. But at any given moment, it feels like an uncertain experiment and complete mess. But somehow I'm like one of those people that sign up for the runs. I somehow like it. I can't explain it, but it's fun in its own right.
I get that. Now, apart from telling everyone to go and run around in the mud and almost kill yourself, what advice would you give to executives who are looking to implement the kind of changes that you've been talking about here, so a significant change within their organisation? What's the best advice you can give them, based on your own experience?
Yeah, so I'd give you a what and a how answer on that. So the what answer is, so we started this year with 27 priorities. So the word 27 and the word priority don't really go together as anything that makes sense to a human brain. And good thing after that, it turned into 6 priorities, and now for next year we're looking at only having 3. But the challenge on the what that I would give back to everyone, all the leaders here, is basically what I started with. Do you actually have the process to look at the changes you want to make and consistently pick out the most valuable stuff? And yes, that means, and you said it earlier, changing where you're going from time to time, and actually accepting the fact that what you call a disruptor and might be the weird thing that's messing with your plan actually is the most valuable thing to do that you need to slot in. But do you actually have the processes to consistently do that, not just execute on the plan, but as a business have to look around, don't look at them as disruptors, but as opportunities and grab them. So is there consistency and process around how you're grabbing the next most valuable thing? So that's the what answer. And then the how, I mean, the most transformative thing for us has been changing the way we work and really looking at the behaviors. But what it takes is someone to really take that lens and look at it. I mean, for me, I knew Elavon long before I took the role that I didn't understand. But being there, looking at every conversation from the perspective of, does this conversation make sense? Could we be having this in a better way? And then not me just asking that question, but entire teams and part of the organization pausing for a moment to say, are these governance structures working for us? Are these processes working for us? Do we need to change them? I think really to accelerate change and to not just have transformation be a one-off thing, it's really about building those moments where everyone pauses for a second to just think about, is this process working for us? Is this team working for us? Is this still the right topic? Just hitting the pause button for a second and making that possible to do it in a better way rather than just grind through it and do it for no better reason than that.
Just one final question from me then. Do you think sometimes it's better for someone from outside the organisation to analyse and suggest where the changes need to come from? Because if people are within the organisation, they don't necessarily see, to use a metaphor, the wood for the trees. They're too close to it to really see where the problems or opportunities exist.
Yes, there is something to that, and we've been working with a great organization that helps us with training and some coaching, and that's good. Most of the people that do the job that I do or close to it are consultants and are coming in and out. They can go in and say, these are all the right answers, this is wonderful, and they disappear again. The difference for me is I'm stuck in the mud run. I need to live with the consequences. I really understand the organization well, and I think it's in a way better to come from within because there's a certain level of credibility that comes with it, and it's something that can be learned and should almost be ingrained into an entire organization in terms of creating the mental space for just getting better and finding better ways of working. So yes, outside perspective, training, consultancy helps, but in the end it needs to stick. It needs to be there within the organization. So that'd be my take on that.
Needs to stick like mud.
Like that, yes.
Good way to end. Okay, really great session. Thank you so much, Jan. Thank you, Jan.